Uh, Letters from the front. Miss Holmes of High Street is in receipt of a letter from her brother, Quartermaster R.I. Holmes. The letter is dated from Rietfontein, Renosterkop, Pretoria, the 12th of January 1901. Speaks of a heavy engagement in which 3,000 troops were engaged on each side. The Boers, as usual, had all the best of the position, but after 2 days' fighting they were routed and chased, the British loss being 20 killed and 100 wounded. He does not expect to return home for some months. In writing of the country, he describes it as most picturesque, hills, valleys and flats, with numerous streams, all well grassed. He says if we had such country in Australia, we would regard ourselves as living in a veritable garden for the white man. He enjoys splendid health. He's been recommended for a commission in the British Army. The following are extracts from a letter just to hand from Private Crowder of Castlemaine, who went to South Africa with the Imperial Bushman Corps. Dated Mafeking, December the 16th, 1900. Quote, I'm still in camp at Mafeking, but we have to do police duty at the local railway station. There is not much to do, but the hours are long, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. No letters have reached me since the 7th of October. Captain Chalmers was here this week and in good health, but 2 of his officers are down with fever. These are Messrs. Nichol and Hayward, so that he has only got Valisa to depend upon. There's not been much fighting around here lately, but the enemy keeps on sniping at the convoys. Commandant Lemmer had about 300 Boers under him at Lichtenberg lately, but has got snapped the other day. Lord Methuen is still here with his column. A lot of troops have left here for the De Aar district. All the yeomen who were left behind at Marandullis have gone through and are anxious to get to the front. I think they will be full up before very long, as the life is very rough and the work very hard. We have 3 companies in reserve here still. There was a race meeting here last week. It was a very country affair. The Spillers are allowed to play any game they choose, and their object was to fleece all and sundry, in which they were not hindered by the authorities. I think it will be a long time before the conclusion of the war arrives, as very few of those who laid down their arms are truly loyal. They were a bad-looking lot of fellows. We sent away about 36 prisoners last week. The weather is getting warm, but the nights are cool. I have been camped with a New South Wales bushman who comes from Wentworth and tells me that he is engaged to a Castlemaine young lady. I may tell you that South Africa is not the place it's cracked up to be. The hands on the railway get 8 shillings a day, and it costs 30 shillings a week to live. Lieutenant Colonel Mackay has received a letter from Lieutenant Gartside, who states that he has been through most of the principal engagements against the Boers. The Australians are given the bulk of the work, which is a tribute to their gallant conduct on the field. Lieutenant Gartside is enjoying the best of health. He describes the principal engagements, particulars of which have already appeared in the press. The Alexander Mail on the 5th of February 1901. Mr. Thomas Calder of Malden has received a letter from his son, Sergeant C. Calder, Kitchener's Light Horse, who writes from the hospital at Pretoria, where he has been since he was severely wounded in the Battle of Noordgedacht on December the 13th. Sergeant Calder's many friends will be glad to hear that he is now fast recovering from a serious wound he received, and he had a miraculous escape from the wound, proving fatal, as a bullet entered his chest and, passing through him, came out the back near the shoulder blade. After being shot, Sergeant Calder walked to the camp hospital. While in the Pretoria hospital, the doctor extracted several small portions of the bullet from the body near the wound. In the same battle, Colonel Legg of the same battalion was killed. Sergeant Calder says he expects to be invalided home to London for a trip. Kyneton Observer, the 14th of February 1901. Barfold. I've recently received a letter from Private J. Siddle dated Boxing Day, which states that the column has not moved since writing. They are still camped on the site of the Battle of the 29th. He is well. Their Christmas Day was rather a quiet one. They managed to obtain a few plum duffs weighing half a pound each, for which they paid the moderate price of 1 9 each. It's hoped they do not have to put in another Christmas on the veldt, as one is enough for a lifetime. The Kyneton Guardian, the 16th of February 1901, word from Private Watson. Mr. Fred Armstrong, the tobacconist of Mollison Street, Kyneton, has received a letter from Private A. Watson, who is in South Africa with the Imperial Bushmen's contingent. The communication is dated the 10th of January and was written at Victoria. The writer evidently cherishes tender recollections of home, for he states that he is writing for the sake of old times he has spent with his friends in grand old Kyneton. So far he had enjoyed the trip splendidly, but had not been lucky enough to escape enteric fever. He had been ill for 6 weeks and had not quite recovered at the time of writing. He hoped, however, to be able to, in a week or so, rejoin his regiment at Bulawayo or Daar. He suggests that probably the General Fred has joined the ranks of the Benedicts, a proceeding which he asserts the said Fred was contemplating prior to the writer's departure. He further avers that he will not be at all surprised if his anticipation proves correct, as he thinks his friend just the one who would do such a thing, probably referring to Fred McKenna of Bayton, who took orders. He thinks he and his comrades have a good chance for a trip to England in May next, as he has read in the Cape Times that preparations for their reception are being made at Aldershot. If they go, he anticipates a good time. If he is spared to get back to Kyneton, he intends to rejoin the bicycle club, which he hopes is flourishing. He concludes by wishing to be remembered to all his Kyneton friends. The Kyneton Guardian, the 21st of February 1901, word from Sergeant Thompson. I gave some extracts from a letter recently received by Mr. W. J. Metcalf Barfold from Sergeant W. Thompson, the 3rd Regiment, Bushman's Contingent, South Africa, the son of Mr. J. B. Thompson, Baynton. The letter, which is headed Pretoria, 15. February 1901, is full of startling incidents of hard marching, much fighting, and hair-breadth escapes, and is quite characteristic of the man who wrote it. He coolly tells us, as though it were nothing, that on a late occasion a bullet punched a hole through my tunic sleeve, just stinging my arms. Close, wasn't it? Again, a bullet almost cut my bridle rein in two, quite close to my hand. All this is told in about the same number of words. Next in order is a series of marches, much patrolling, whilst continually exposed to much sniping, but very little harm is recorded. Next is told a most humorous incident. We were on the march to Hekpoort, at which place we had some splendid fun. A few of our fellows left ranks in order to get some grapes, when they found an old Dutch woman mounted guard over them with a long stick. She could use it to some tune too, as she almost knocked one of our fellows out, the first smack which she gave him on the head. The incident was regarded as splendid fun for all except the man who got the whack on the head. The next item reads, camped 3 miles from Pretoria, to which city I am ordered for a fresh change of horses. When we procure them, we intend making the place warm for the enemy. Okay, well, we're in Swan Hill, which is on the banks of the Murray, so the border of Victoria and New South Wales. And really don't think, excuse me, I've been here for maybe 30 years. We came up here, a friend was running a caravan park Look, I'm thinking them late 90s, so maybe not that long. But it's not a town I know very well, no. It's a bit warmer than the rest of Victoria because you're quite far up north. Anyway, there's a few monuments here, but these look to me like they World War One. They're very snazzy. Yeah, I reckon we'll go for a walk down there because I can see something that looks more like what we want. I don't want to get run over though. It's a beautiful day. Sun's out again. I'm going to try it. Sun's out again. We've had rain and cold the last few days. It's good to get out of home and have a sunny day. Okay. There's one down the far end here that looks more like our era. Took about 2 hours and 20 minutes to get here. I mean, if you were to drive without stopping from my place, so gives you an idea. And after Swan Hill, I think I'm going to be pushing it for there's a couple more I got in mind that are sort of, you know, not ridiculously far away, but beyond that I'm not sure what else I can show you guys. Anyway, that's for another day. It's not for today. For today, oh no, this is not a Boer War monument. This is Major Mitchell. He was an explorer. Seemed to have gone everywhere. This Major Mitchell, he was in Reedstown. Burke and Wills. We followed those in yeah, a long time ago. Went on this four-wheel drive excursion following the track you can see there of Burke and Wills. Menindee, Inaminka, lost my sunglasses there. The Dig Tree, we were there. Cooper Creek, got all the way there, and I said to my friends, that'll do me, I'm going home. I turned around, drove all the way back. Took me about 3 days. My friends said, aren't you even going to spend the night? I said, no, I've done it. It was a fantastic trip. My Suzuki with the roof off, tent in the back. Lots of weed to smoke on the way. It was really good. And my friend that was with us, Jeanette, was her and her boyfriend. I just followed them. They organised everything. And Jeanette planned where we were camping. We never stayed in caravan parks. She wrote to farmers that owned properties that had links to the Burke and Wills expedition. If you don't know, Burke and Wills were the first Europeans to cross Australia from south to north, and they died on the way back through stupidity. Anyway, went to the wrong end of the nature strip for our memorial, but not a complete waste. Obviously, this is all the war stuff in the middle here. Oops. Can we get across? The way they've made that hedge linked together. Oh, here we go. I looked at this and thought it might be it, but this is a very new one. erected to commemorate the centenaries of the Anglo-Boer War, South Africa and the Federation of Australia. That's a mural relief of some Aussies galloping through the South African veld, probably trying to avoid Boer bullets. These are all the names of the men apparently that enlisted to go to the Boer War, I think. There's too many for me to read. Oh, look at that. To Australians who served in the South African Anglo-Boer War, October the 11th, 1899 to May the 31st, 1902. And there's another Victorian mounted rifles. He's pretty sturdy. Slouch hat. So he was the forerunner of the World War I digger. And interesting that the war broke out on October the 11th and I'll be arriving in South Africa on October the 8th. Didn't really think that when I was planning this. There's lots more names. This is very new, this memorial. I kind of like the old ones. Anyway. So, I'd say this was done, yeah, for the 100-year memorial. I remember at the time I was working in Burundara Council around about the year 1998, 1999, and I remember really wanting to go to Spienkop for the 100th anniversary of the Battle of Spienkop, which is my favourite battle, if you can have such a thing. But wow, I mean, the time I can stand at Spienkop, get on top of the mountain and look where the battle took place is going to be quite spiritual for me. I don't know why, but this Boer War business has been in me for, 50 years. Can't really explain it, but yeah. And I think you can do horse riding around Spienkop Park. I think it's probably a national park now, but you can hire horses apparently from the hotel near there, and their guides will show you around where the battle took place, which was a draw. Redvers Buller and his British troops against the Boers. And I don't want to tell you too much. I'll be able to tell you on the day I'm there, God willing, and have a guide with me to point out the various things I'm not going to know just by standing on top of a mountain. You're not going to know where the events took place. But anyway, let's deal with that when we get there. So I'm going to head back now, and hope you've enjoyed this day with me, and we'll talk soon. Bye.